It's market day. I'm about to pack up the car. It is 10:30 in the morning. I have a lot to do today, and the market setup starts at noon, but I won't be getting there until 2. It should be plenty of time for my husband and I to set up. Sorry about my son in the background. He is currently watching me set up while sitting in the stroller. It isn't the nicest outside, so I'm hoping packing up doesn't take too long. But let's get packed up. This is an outdoor evening event. Looking forward to that. It's my first evening event. So let's get packed up and set up and get this market going. All right, everyone, we are completely set up. It took about an hour, and we had to set up in the downpour, so I didn't get any footage of that, unfortunately. But I'm going to show you the setup, and yeah, hopefully we do good. It's still raining, but it's starting to lighten up, so hopefully we have a good turnout. And yeah, I'm excited. It is downpouring, and we just got our first sale. It was a toddler purse and a plushie for $20 total in cash. Yay! Just got 2 more sales, one Pikachu and one snake. Yay! Well, music has been playing pretty much this whole time, but I have had some good sales, but we will talk about that later. Okay, so it's been a couple of days. I am starting to get a cold now, so sorry about my voice if it sounds weird. I've had a couple days to reflect on this market. So first of all, it was a children's like 5K race. It was really fun. Unfortunately, the weather really prevented people from coming out and staying out. It was very, very rainy, as you saw, and it was the coldest day that we have seen in about 2 weeks. So I think that really prevented people from coming out and staying out. I think a lot of people did their race and then they went straight back home because it was so cold. And unfortunately, we also had, I think, over half of the vendors drop. That's not on me, but it is unfortunate because I think a lot of the tents or the vendors were just local advertisers. So there wasn't a lot of like selling things. And then there was also one MLM. Other than that, there were 4, I think, 4 people actually selling homemade, handmade items. So that's unfortunate that there were only 4. I think a lot of people saw, because on both ends, so there were 2 rows, and on both ends, there was a local restaurant and then a local building contractor. And so I think what happened was a lot of people saw either of the ends, and they assumed that all of the tents were businesses. I mean, we all are, but like big businesses just there for advertising and not actually selling anything. So that was unfortunate. And then, of course, in the back row, I suppose there were 5 vendors, because in the back row there were 3 vendors. The middle one was the MLM. And because it was pouring, we all had our tent walls up, so I think that also prevented people from coming over and looking at the shops. Now, the people that did come by, I think I only had like 2 or 3 people come into my booth and didn't buy anything. So that was really, really cool for me. I've never had that experience before. But yeah, like I said, the weather definitely kept people away, and I wish it wasn't that way. In the future, I think I would do this event again and hope that it's not raining, but you can only do so much, and I get that. And like, we could have postponed it, but when to? And there were so many people that were like pre-registered for this race, and kids love running in the rain. So okay, with all that being said, I sold 14 items. I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top, so the last will be the most popular item. And kind of in no particular order, but one of the items I only sold one of was my small Pikachu that I actually made and finished last week. I forgot to put a tail on this one, but I had 2 different options, and the kid wanted the one without the tail. So I thought that was kind of fun, and it just kind of shows that even though you aren't happy with your product, the other person, the buyer, will be happy. So that's really promising, and it kind of helps me see past some of the imperfections that I know are there. The second item that sold was one of the egg plushies that I made a long time ago. I don't even think I showed it off because I just was not happy with it. Don't think I'm gonna make another one, but I used Big Twist Posh, and as you know, Big Twist Posh is a lot smaller than Bernat, because that's what I use now. And that thing took me forever to make. That's what almost made me turn away from amigurumi, but I'm back. So yeah, I just marked that at $10. I thought that was a decent price for the size, and it sold. I have 1 more of those. So yeah, but I will not be making any more eggs. I don't think they're worth it. The third item that sold, one of the item, was a toddler purse. I was super excited to sell that. I was actually very surprised it sold. Yeah, I think I had them overpriced. I marked them down to $10 right at the beginning of the market, just because I kind of want to just get rid of them. I don't think I'm going to be making any more of the like really small ones. They're only about 4 inches wide, and then they have a strap. I think the strap is about 2 feet long, but yeah, I was excited to sell that, and I was really surprised to sell that because that was one of the first items that sold. So that was kind of cool. The next item that I sold 3 of, so this was the runner-up for the best seller, was 3 scrunchies. I sold 2 of the regular ones, and then I sold 1 of the clearance ones. And I actually got a tip on that, the clearance one. So that was really cool. I cannot remember the colors. That whole night is pretty much a blur at this point, because it went so fast, unlike any of my other markets, because I've never done an evening market. But The last item I sold, or the best seller of the night, was my $5 plushies. I didn't keep track of which plushies they were, but I sold 8, so that was really exciting. So in total, I got $71 in cash. I think a lot of people were just carrying cash because they weren't really expecting this to buy anything and just had some cash. And it was also advertised as like a small business, like startup vendor or vendor market. So that was nice that a lot of people had cash, didn't have to deal with the card reader too much. But I did have one card transaction, and that was for $34.06. I actually got a $2 tip on that as well, which I was really surprised to see, but hey, I'll take it. It was really cool. And then the last item on the list of transactions was a $5 trade. We traded with our vendor neighbors who did laser printing, and yeah, we always like to support the other vendors there. We ended up we traded for one item for $5, and then we ended up supporting 2 other vendors there that were making handmade jam and honey. So that was really nice. There was another crocheter there. I went and I checked out her stuff. It was all really cool. I wish I would have recorded it, but the weather had me very terrified to go out and record. Sorry, maybe next time. But that is a grand total of $110.06 made on this market. The table fee was $30, so I'm feeling iffy about how it went. I know that we would have had more sales if it wasn't downpouring all night, but for the weather conditions, I think we did really well. I know a lot of people have like if it's a 10 times the table fee, then it was a success. Honestly, for me, if I make the table fee back and then some, I'm happy, because I enjoy making it and making other people happy. So I consider this a success. Total profit was $80.06. I am pretty happy about the profit. It's nice to have a profit. I know I spent a bunch in display items and just general items. I don't count food as an expense because I'm gonna be eating whether we're there or not, and I try to bring snacks, so I'm not buying too much. But yeah, I had fun, and I think that's what counts. I have another market coming up in about 6 weeks, so until then, I'm gonna be market prepping. I'm gonna have a lot of good weekly makes coming up. Not this week, so because I got distracted by something, and well, if you know, you know. But thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching this video. I hope your market season goes fantastic, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.